I now call to order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, March 19th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor LaHouzes,
Here.
Vice Mayor Banther,
Here.
Commissioner Sieber,
Here.
Commissioner Kikta is absent and excused, Commissioner Carr.
Here.
Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Smith from the Herman Missionary Baptist Church and the Fire Department Chaplain. If you please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this glorious day that you have allowed us to be in. We thank you for this city of Tarpon Springs. We pray, Lord, for our city government. We pray for our city leaders, the commissioners, the mayor. We pray for all the city workers, as a special prayer for our first responders, the police and fire department. Father, we pray that you would bless every resident, every visitor that find their way in this city. We ask a special blessing upon this meeting tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. We will begin our meeting tonight with the public comments on the items that will not be discussed tonight. If you have any comments, please come forward, state your name and your address for the record. You begin with 4 minutes.
Hello, I'm Jean Hungaville. I'm President and CEO of the Tarpon Springs Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here tonight to thank you all for allowing us to use Craig Park for our Fine Arts Festival weekend before last. I understand there was some discussion at the previous board meeting about the festival. I was not able to attend that meeting and wanted to come tonight to tell you that the event was a huge success, not only for the Chamber, but for the city. We had over 12,000 attendees for the weekend. I was told by several businesses that it was their best weekend of the season. This type of event probably injects more revenue into the local businesses than it actually does the Chamber, and I would hope so. It showcases the city with one of the best and finest quality art events in Florida. It's regarded as one of the top shows in the Southeast, and we hear that a lot from the artists that are coming back year after year. The verbal comments from the artists during the weekend and now the incoming surveys that we distributed on Saturday, picked up some of them on Sunday, and some of them are being mailed in. As we go through those, we are seeing that the comments are that this is one of the best weekends of any show that they have attended so far this year. Yes, of course, we're pleased, but they've also observed that the quality of competition for prizes is becoming very tight. By the way, I don't know if you all know, but we award $19,000 in prize money, which is one of the highest in the state of Florida. Our 3 judges this year were of high quality. Jose Gilot, who is the former curator for the Henry B. Plant Museum, was here. Katie Dietz, who is the executive director of the Florida Craft Art Museum, and Lonnie Hopkins, who is a retired metal sculpturist and also a jewelry artist. Those were our jurors and our 3 artists. So this is not just apply and be here. This is a big process. About 1/3 of our artists this year, of our 200 artists, were first-timers. And we're the excellence that we have been trying to attract in the last couple of years. We really have stepped up the game. These quality guests are what filled the hotels this weekend, filled the restaurants. They eat in the restaurants, shop in the stores, and many are planning to return in the next few months, not just come back for the show. I've spoken with a few of our businesses who have told me that their restaurants were full, and others who were very busy in the afternoon after patrons had left the festival. Our chamber information desk at the festival almost ran out of visitors' guides and what to do brochures on Saturday, so we had to replenish before Sunday. We were crowded all day, both days, and people were buying. Just as an aside, at 9:30 the first day, 30 minutes after we were opened, I was called on the radio to go to the main gate to open to let someone bring a car in, and a $2,800 piece of sculpture, glass sculpture, went out the door 30 minutes into the festival. They put it in their car because they wanted to come back and shop some more. So that's the quality of what we saw going out the door this year. I think the economy's on its way back. So the 45th annual Tarpon Springs Art Festival on the Bayou was a huge success. We're looking forward to March 14th, 15th, 2020 for the 46th. And again, thank you for allowing us to use Craig Park.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. First thing, as I will start, I would like to again reiterate that it's imperative at the next and future elections that we have transparency with regards to financial reporting. I don't know if the clerk has power to do it on her own, or it has to be a resolution or something from the board to authorize that, but it needs to be done. I'm not going to imply any wrongdoing or any illicit activity, but I will give you facts, and you can think about them and wonder on your own. Last time I was here, I spoke about 2 donations to Mr. Archie's campaign back in January from a 78 political committee out of Orlando, and on January 7th for the Florida Finishing Contractors Association, also out of Orlando, for $1,000. Now, I did a little more research after the next reportings came out, and it was quite interesting. On February 10th, Mr. Archie received a $1,000 donation from Political Action Together Political Committee out of Hanover, Maryland. Hanover, Maryland. Why are they interested in tarpon activities? Well, it's interesting. Their agent has the same address as the 78 Political Committee out of Orlando, and both of them are tied to the International Brotherhood of Painters and Allied Trades. Now, on February 15th, Mr. Archie received 3 separate donations of $1,000 each from a realtors group. However, I need you to listen carefully. One was the Realtors Political Advocacy Committee. The other was the Realtors Political Action Committee. And the third was the Realtors Political Activity Committee. Now, all 3 of these had addresses in Tallahassee, 200 Monroe Street, and the same address in Tallahassee at 115 East Park Avenue. Now, the curious thing is, the treasurer for all 3 of these is the same person, David Garrison. Also, there was another donation from Suncoast Better Government Committee out of St. Petersburg for another $1,000. So if you take all of these up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 donations of $1,000 each. But the interesting thing that I found was after I spoke at the last meeting, someone who's involved in city activities, I happened to run into them, and they showed me a Facebook post. And I don't do Facebook. Sometimes I have to wonder about what Facebook is really true. But it said that Jack LaValla was getting involved in tarpon politics. And I said, well, that's weird. I didn't see anything there. So I went back and I looked at previous records. So actually what I found was in earlier reportings, back on October 18th of 2018, the Florida Leadership Committee donated $500, and on November 27th, the 21st Century Florida Committee also donated $500 to Mr. Archie's campaign. Now, who are they? So I Googled Florida Leadership Committee, and guess what I found? Ooh. In FloridaPolitics.com, there was an article published on January 16th, 2018, written by Scott Powers. And it states, Florida State Senator Jack LaValla, who is sitting on nearly $7 million in political committee money, said Tuesday his unused campaign money will be returned to donors if he closes down that campaign. As we know, he did close that down. But however, further in the article, it states, among the funds he controls, the Florida Leadership Committee has taken in more than $9.6 million. I hear the bell, and Ms. Samarcus has been willing to donate time towards me, so I'm entitled to another 2 minutes. Also, it says the 21st Century Florida Committee has brought in $131,000, had left over $8,400 at the end of the year. Now, both of these are funds that Jack LaValle either set up or has control over. Now, if you go to the Department of State.elections.com/committees, COMLK up, you'll find a list, all the political committees there. And if you go to the Florida Leadership Committee, you'll see that over the years they raised over $9 million, and currently, from the last report on February 28, they still have almost $1.7 million left. Now, the interesting thing I found is when you look up 21st Century Florida Committee, it shows it's closed. Now, I don't know if it was closed before Mr. Archie got the donation or after he got the donation, because there's no date there. So I haven't gotten further on the research. But I've been following elections here in Tarpon, and you know that, and I've looked at financial reports, and this is the first time I've seen that many donations from political action committees getting involved in Tarpon Springs elections. And it makes me wonder why. Also curious, who reached out to who and for what reason? So I just wanted to leave those thoughts in your mind, and I'm going to do some more research, and as I find things out, I'm going to share them with you. Because one, thankfully, votes matter more than money, because if you look at the $8,000 Mr. Archie raised, that was about 30% of the money he got. So just curious as to who and why people from outside our area, Tallahassee, Orlando, and Maryland, are interested in Tarpon Springs politics. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? I hear none. Well, thank you. We will start with the proclamation, which is the item number 1, Greek Independence Day. The City of Tarpon Springs, Florida proclamation. Whereas we commemorate the 198th anniversary of Greece's independence, the celebration of Greek Independence Day on March 25th, 2019, draws inspiration from one of the holiest days for the Greek Orthodox Christians. And whereas on the Greek Independence Day we celebrate our special ties of friendship, history, and shared values with Greece. And whereas Greek Americans have made a mark in every field by enhancing our culture, enriching our commerce, and defending our freedom. And whereas their strong record of public services has also strengthened our democracy, and their contributions have made America a better place. And whereas Sunday, March 31st, 2019 has been chosen for the Greek Independence Day Parade in Tarpon Springs. Now, therefore, I, Chris Alahouzes, by virtue of the authority vesting in me, as the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 25th, 2019 as Greek Independence Day. And I'd like to invite Mr. Sisoy to come and accept the proclamation. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you want to say something about the parade? Sure.
Good evening. Congratulations about you re-elected again, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for everything, everybody you do for the Greek community, and everybody you invited to celebrate together the March 31st, always from the St. Nicholas down to Dodekanis Boulevard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any commission comments? Are there any public comments? Oh, excuse me. Commissioner Carr?
And you're welcome to do whatever you want, but are you going to share about your experience this past week and this time, or at the end? Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? We're here now. Now we're going to the item number 2, which is the Water Conservation Month. Commissioner Seaver will read the proclamation.
Thank you. City of Tarpon Springs, Florida proclamation. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida water management districts and the city of Tarpon Springs are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Tarpon Springs and the state of Florida has designated April, typically a dry month, when water demands are most acute, as Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Tarpon Springs has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and events, special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now therefore I, Commissioner Rhea Seaver, by virtue of the authority vested in the mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, Florida, do hereby proclaim the Water Month to be April 2019, Water Conservation Month. And I believe Paul is going to be accepting this.
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director, and thank you for this opportunity. With me here tonight is Hillary Weber. She's our Water Division Manager, and she's working with the Project Administration Department, Nick Macris, on a grant. And we're ranked high right now for it, but I'll let Hillary tell you just a bit about that real quick, just one of our water conservation efforts.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Hillary Weber, Public Services Water Division Manager. As Paul mentioned, water conservation is important here at the city. Not only does it benefit our customers, but it benefits our environment and our limited water supply. We are working with Nick Macris, the project supervisor for the city, to obtain grants for future water conservation projects such as the toilet rebate program. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commission comments? No. Are there any public comments on this item?
Peter Delax, 514 Ashland Avenue. Just want to focus on a couple things in this. It says, whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help. And then later it says, and I call upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resources. As the kind gentle lady from the chamber said, last weekend was busy. I had a friend in town and we went to Rusty Belly's and the place was packed. We had to wait forever. But I had a chance to observe some practices that fit into what we're talking about. And I would recommend at this point, you have a list of all the restaurants that do business in the city. I would recommend sending to them a letter with this and asking them kindly to not serve water unless asked for. Because so many times when you get seated, they're bringing you a big glass of water and it sits there and people are buying drinks and teas and sodas and beers or what, coffee, whatever their beverage of choice is. And I noticed the water just sits there. Now, it's not just the water in the glass that's wasted. You have to wash them, which takes up even more water. So that, I think, would be a good step to advise some of our businesses. And in a sense, when I'm just thinking also about this, we have some large industrial users that you would know about that you could maybe approach to them and maybe give them some ideas and get some of their ideas as to what they do to conserve water. And through that, maybe we can also find ways to have our industries and businesses that are not restaurant orientated to also conserve water, because it is a group effort. And I tell you now, I've said this before, we mistreat water and we think of it as, you know, we pay pennies on the gallon, but water is like gold. I went hiking last weekend out at Starkey Park. We walked about 7 miles, and I tell you, we were glad to have a couple of sips along the way, and when we get back to the car, gave the dogs water. We underappreciate the value of our fresh, clean water. So I thank you for bringing this forward, and I hope the city can take some efforts to educate our businesses, restaurants and such, of the part they can play in this vital mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Hear none. Thank you. We are now going to the presentations. Item number 3 is an update ankle dredge project requested by Mayor Chris Alajuzas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. And as you said, I'm here tonight to provide a project status update on the Anklet River Dredge project. So while the Army Corps of Engineers is continuing to work on the design and permitting efforts, we received some unfortunate news that the federal funding for the dredge work appears to have been reprioritized and is currently unavailable for our project. We've been in touch with Congressman Bill Arakis' office, and he is working with Senator Rubio's folks in attempts to reinstate funding and to reestablish a timeline to when that was going to be available. His staff seems confident that funding will be reinstated, but the schedule is unknown at this time. So this is obviously something I'm keeping a very close eye on, and we'll bring updates to you as information comes in. But meanwhile, I'm about to authorize our engineer to continue design and permitting work that we started last fall on an area we're calling the Extended Turning Basin. This is something I brought to your attention, I believe, at my last update. The Extended Turning Basin is the portion of the river that lies outside of and adjacent to the federal channel, and thus would be the city's responsibility to dredge. Conceptual design work has already been done, and we've already completed a seagrass survey, so we have made some steps towards getting that going, but we need to keep it moving. The silver lining, if you will, to the federal funding delay is that it potentially opens the door for the possibility of piggybacking dredging the Extended Turning Basin, that is our portion of it, with the as yet unbid and unselected Army Corps contractor for their dredge. The timeline of their procurement process depends entirely on the federal funding, which of course, as I've said, is still uncertain, but we know we'll have to work fast, and our engineers are on board to make every effort to try to match their timeline when it finally gets established. And we have funding for the design and permitting of the Extended Turning Basin portion, but funding for the actual dredge work for the Extended Turning Basin is not established yet, and I believe Commissioner Carr has some, will be addressing this in his comments. So that's the overall snapshot of the current status of the project. And like I said, I'll continue to keep the board updated and the website updated with information as it comes in.
Mr. Robinson, thank you for the update, and I appreciate the quality of work that you're doing for the city. I am very, very unhappy with what's going on, losing funding for our swimming pool project to the city of Tarpon Springs. But as you said, the project will not stop. We will continue because we have $300,000 that we got from Pinellas County to use for design. So we're going to keep going. But I will continue to communicate with Congressman Billy Arakis, Senator Rubio, and I will be reaching out to Senator Scott to have a meeting with him to to ask him to work with us to restore funding on this project. But I like to ask my fellow commissioners when we have any ideas or any request, if we can send an email to the city manager without violating the Sunshine Law. So that way we all on the same step. We all have the same message when we're meeting someone. So we all communicating the same message. Again, thank you. Commissioner Carr.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Bob, for the update. I've asked Mark to draft or have someone, I believe Bob drafted the letter for me. And we're going to send it to the same individuals that the mayor mentioned. Also going to send it to the county commissioners and the governor, state representatives as well. Senator Hooper, County Commissioner Eggers have both expressed willingness to help in anything that they can do. So I just want to reiterate to what the mayor is saying. As our board, I know Vice Mayor getting ready to take off. here soon. But as the board, we all need to reach out to them individually. I'm going to send a letter that basically details everything out on what the concerns that we have and the lack of funding that we have for the extended turn basin. Also, we'll have a couple testimonial letters as well from local shrimp boat operators explaining how important it is, because at this point it's basically creating a one-way river is what I've been told by the local fishermen, that you could come in but then there's no spot to really turn around. So it's still it would be intimidating for the people that don't know the river very well to come in, and then they still have to go to Tampa if the turn basin isn't there. So at that juncture, I will be sending a letter, and I would ask that the rest of the board members also communicate and send letters as well, just in support of the additional funding where it can. I know Trish and Bob could probably help out with these as well. So thanks for the putting us on the agenda, Mayor, and happy to support this as one of the commissioners.
Thank you. And I know Vice Mayor has been a strong advocate of this project. He's going to continue working on this and provide us advice.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Bob. I think any efforts are good. You know, I don't know how effective a letter will be, but it's definitely worth trying. I think we just got lucky that we hit during the election season, and our representatives. I don't blame them. That's natural. They want to have kind of the badge that they help get it done. We're about another year and a half though away from that next cycle. But hopefully, the more that the future board keeps us in front of them with letters, face-to-face meetings, and whatever else, that they won't forget about it. And because it's so important. It's not the sexiest thing to talk about up here, but it really is kind of one of the main staples in Tarpon Springs. Because if we lose the federal channel there, or if boats can't start getting in, which some large ones can't, that's going to severely cripple our economy, and then economies that depend off of the workers and the sponge dock. So I just thank you in advance for having this on your forefront. And whatever I can do as a private citizen after April 9th, I'm happy to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Super.
Yes, I've also been an advocate from the beginning and have done whatever I could on my part, both with the county and the state. I feel that, definitely, as Vice Mayor said, it affects a lot of people. It affects tourism. It affects our fishing industry, our businesses on the docks. So it's important to keep strong on this, and I appreciate your updates, Bob. I was thinking, instead of just a letter from one commissioner, could we do something as a board to send to Tallahassee?
I think it's going to be better if we do it as the commission board. I think it's going to be stronger.
That was why
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carr?
I had this discussion earlier with Bob, and I'm not saying that this is the way it needs to go, but it's different from getting one letter in the mail to getting 5 letters in the mail, I think. And so if you get, and I'm happy for everybody to sign it, and I think it's wise to do that, but when I get 5 different things in the mail talking about the same thing, it makes more of an impact to myself than it is if I just get one letter in the mail asking for this, and then follow up with additional phone calls and following up with additional requests. So if the board's in favor to do one letter, I'm fine with that, and I'm happy to do a follow-up note, a personal note to each one as well. I'm not against either aspect, but that was my thinking, and because I did bring it up, I said, well, maybe we should do it all together as a board, but then I thought about it a little bit more. I said, well, when I get letters, I think it's more impactful when I get more of them.
I think it's going to be better if we have one letter for the whole group that shows to be united in this effort, but then individuals can actually send if they want an additional letter.
I agree. I think it's stronger to come from our whole board as a city, and we can follow up with more.
Happy to do that.
Letters.
Yeah, and all 5 of us signed it.
Right.
Happy to do that.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? Are there any public comments on this item? Any public comments on this item? None. Bob, thank you.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
And we are now going to the, another presentation. Item number 4 is, design of replacement dais for the auditorium.
I'm back again.
Robertson, you're front and center again.
Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. So tonight, I'm pleased to present to you a first look at the proposed concept we have for the new dais for the auditorium right here in this room. So this is a discussion item. We're looking for your feedback as we move forward and into final design. Staff from several city departments have provided input on the design concept that you see before you in your backup memo. There's some renderings, and I'll show you a little demo here in a moment. The concept of the new dais is to provide a modular design that can be broken down and set up with only 2 people. Just by looking at this one, it's a beast to set this one up and break it down. The new dais will be collapsible and will be built on sturdy casters to allow it to break down and roll back up against the stage behind you, where it can be secured to the stage for storage. It will include a hidden cable chase to allow for audiovisual, power, or other electronics connections built into the unit. And it will be constructed of wood with either red oak, walnut, or cherry wood species. And I have some printouts. I didn't get time to put this in your backup. I'm going to pass these down. Jeff, if you don't mind. Thank you. Just color samples of what these materials look like. Just so you know, red oak is this wood right here. It's what you see on the surface of the dais and the podium here. Red oak. And budget permitting, we're also looking at the possibility of custom building an AV storage cabinet to replace the one currently back over there in the corner that the Keurig is sitting on. So we'll be able to put some electrical equipment in that, as well as lockable storage for the clerks to access. And possibly a matching podium, a new podium to match the new design. So if we can fit all that in the budget, I'd like to try to do that. So before we get to discussion and questions, I have a small-scale mock-up. I'm going to have Tom help me out here. He's going to bring it up in the front so I can stay at the podium. And this is a mock-up of one of the modules, what they're proposing. Can you get by there?
I got my, yep.
All right. We're proposing 7 modules like this, and that is a small-scale version. That's not the kids' dais, you know. That's I also want to joke about budget cuts or something, so you get a smaller version. But so if you can visualize 7 units of a larger scale, obviously, set up in the same arrangement as the arrangements you're at now. So it would be angled out so that board members and committee members can see each other for discussions. Let's see. You can see as you can see the legs. Tom, if you could show them how the legs will fold in so that the unit can be collapsed. And on wheels, that unit, if you can visualize it, rolling back up against the stage and locking in for storage. It'll be at the same height as the stage, so there wouldn't be a trip hazard for performances and that sort of thing. And then when it's in the upright position, it'll have locking mechanisms so that you wouldn't accidentally kick the legs out and have the table fall on you or anything like that. So that's the concept. Wanted to get your ideas and thoughts on it, and before we move forward with final design. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're going to replace this dais. It's in bad shape.
Thank you.
I like the module concept. I think it's going to be neat to be able to fold and secure it against the stage. You by any chance having any picture of what's really going to look like when it's finished?
Well, I do. All I have is the 3D renderings that we have at this point here. The contractor is going to work up something a little more detailed for us.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're going to do is, once based on our selections and the final guidance, they're actually going to build one full prototype module, full size, not the little guy, so we can see what it looks like and how it works before they build all 7 of them.
In regards to what kind of finish they have, red oak or walnut or cherry, I kind of like the walnut better. It's a little darker, more rich looking. So
the 1 vote for walnut.
That's what I want to. Yeah, I'm not a designer, so if I had a picture, I'll probably be.
That's why I asked you guys to pick.
Yeah. Commissioner Seaver?
Yes, it's definitely needed, and I guess we'll get into the, as far as the microphones and the electronics, at a later date. But, I also like the walnut. I think
You
it's
do?
rich.
Yeah.
So I agree, but it will be so practical compared to what we have now.
Yeah,
to
that's
put
the idea for sure.
together and take apart and remove. So, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Carr?
Thanks. What's the estimated time to set up and remove?
This
know?
one or the new one?
It would be the new one.
Oh, I would say probably 30 minutes.
Okay. And they'll do that for shows, basically, when we don't have the meetings going on in here. They would take it down and push it back for
Sure.
events and things that are happening. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the idea. Yep. And it could be stored in the upright with the tabletop up or the tabletop
Okay.
flattened.
Great. Yeah, I'm in favor of the walnut for sure compared to the other two examples between the cherry and the red oak. I would definitely say the walnut would be the best choice of options. Are there going to be acoustic panels in the front too, like we have today?
I don't think we need them because we have the acoustic panels now around inside here. I think when this was built, I don't think these were available. So we weren't planning on putting acoustic panels on.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Panther?
Yes, thank you. I'll leave color choices to my colleagues. You know, as usual. I just hope. Did it say that it'll have outlets and everything?
Yes, sir.
Station.
Yep.
Because I really do hope one time that this board moves to an all paperless backup. I think we're like the last city commission in Pinellas County that still has a binder. And then I know it's not on this topic per se, but with these microphones, we need the kind that you push to talk. So it's not like, you know, because if you watch on TV, you can whisper and hear everything, and so it's just kind of distracting. So if you get, I know like PSTA has them and many other boards. So I think everything needs to get replaced. I certainly think we have the funds to have a matching dais, or sorry, a matching podium and a storage cabinet. It all should look nice and cohesive. So I think it's great. This is about as old as me up here, so really it is.
It is.
So I think it's long overdue, and I'm very glad that we're finally doing it. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, another thing that I think is going to be nice, and I discussed that with Bob, is also to have lights here when somebody wants to speak, so the light will come on. Because a lot of
that's how it
times,
works.
you're missing the
PSTA,
person,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item? Bob, thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to the consent agenda. Item number 5 is the minutes for February 26, 2019 regular session. Number 6 is the attorney fees. Trask and Dynal invoice 57,812. B is Johnson and Jackson invoice 4161 and 4162. Number 7 is the special events. The Salsa Cinco de Maria, it will be deferred to March 26, 2019. The regular session. B is the X-Lodge Beach Party on May 11th, 2019. C is the Flags for Freedom, May 18th, 2019. Number 8 is to authorize execution of a license agreement with supervisor of elections for use of the library for ballot drop-off 2020 presidential, preference primary, and general elections. Number 9 is to select the Arena Engineering Incorporated for the RFQ number 180173 SJJ, Geotechnical and Construction Materials Testing Continuing Services. Number 10 is to review file number 160076 CCM Lining Street City-owned installation and repair, City of St. Petersburg RFQ number 5966. And number 11 is to ratify file 190053 EJJ emergency generator repair. Number 12 is the award RFP number 190051 PCM TV station and ancillary BOC Meetings Room IV System. And number 13 is the award file, number 190092, NJJ Fireworks. And we also have an addendum, number 1, revised meeting schedule for April 2019. Any items that you like to pull?
Number 9, just for a quick discussion and just a quick comment about fireworks. I'm super excited that the city is doing fireworks again on number 13.
Number 9 and 13. This is just for discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go ahead and talk about number 9?
Okay. Bob, can you talk about this one for a minute? Currently today, my understanding is that we don't have any needs to use a business for the seeing if there's sinkholes or voids in the areas or something along those lines. I know we've used businesses in the past, and based on our discussion, am I right in saying this is just making sure that we have somebody ready in the event that we do need to do something on a roadway or a city-owned property and we have to wait for the commission to approve something? Is this correct?
That is correct, thank you.
Okay.
Yep,
And it wouldn't necessarily be $150,000 for one event. It could be a portion of it, or it could be all of it, depending on how big the event is.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for being proactive in this. It's good to look forward, and I just want to say thank you for bringing this up.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, isn't it the same company that we use on the Martin Luther King project?
No, it's not. This is a new company. This is a different one.
Different one, okay. Thank you. Any other questions on that one?
Not on that one,
No.
no.
You also have 13 questions to ask about the fireworks?
Yeah, we've got such a great community involvement in 4th of July. I mean, to celebrate our nation's independence is one of my favorite things to do. It's a great family event. It's a great event to see other families, especially out at the island or at the beach or at the park. So I'm super happy to support the fireworks and the celebration of our independence and coming together as a town and a community as one to, although we don't agree always on everything, that's one day we could come together and agree that we all are Americans together and to celebrate together. So I'm happy to see and support this. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? No. Any public comments on these items? I hear none. I need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. We're going to skip the special consent agenda because Vice Mayor has to leave early. He has some family obligations. We're going to go directly to the ordinance and resolutions, which is item number 19, and then we'll come back to the special consent agenda. So we're going to be doing item number 19, which is the ordinance 2019-03, the application 18-149 LDC amendment, conditional use. This is second reading, and I would like to ask our city attorney to read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2019-03, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Section 209 of Article 12 of Appendix A, the Comprehensive Zoning and Land Development Code, by providing the correct title of the Planning and Zoning Department, adding the words "or designee" to approval by the city manager, providing for the ability to approve a site plan separate from the corresponding conditional use approval, amending the expiration provision of an approved conditional use, adding a waiver of the one-year expiration, and providing an alternate expiration schedule when a conditional use is approved in conjunction with the development agreement, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on January 11th, February 6th, and March 8th, 2019.
Staff report, please.
Pat McNeese, Principal Planner. This is your second reading on this ordinance, and there is no new information. I'll be glad to answer any questions on this.
Thank you. Any commission comments, questions? Are there any public comments on this item? Here not, I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Next is item number 18, is to authorize settlement of code enforcement liens. Case number 17-00000639 and 641, Belair Reserve Holdings 2004 Lakeview Drive. I will ask our city attorney to present this item.
Mr. Mayor, are we
Yes, special
continuing with the
consent.
ordinances and resolutions, or are we going to the special consent agenda?
No, we're going to do the 18, we're going to do all these. Oh, wait a minute.
We were on
I'm
number
so
19.
sorry.
On
I'm so
20,
sorry.
Mayor.
Going to be corrected. We're doing item number 20, which is the ordinance 2019-05. Use of recreation facilities. This is a second reading. Please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 2019-05, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 12.5 Parks and Recreation, Article 1 in general, Section 12.5-6, deleting the recreation card requirement and requiring a franchise or license agreement for commercial activity on public land and use of city parks, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance. This was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on March 8th, 2019.
Thank you. Staff report.
Good evening, Paul Smith, Public Services Director. This is a second reading. Our main goals with this ordinance is to simplify the individual use of parks by eliminating the permit requirement and also providing a framework for regulating commercial activity on our public parks, public lands.
Well, thank you. This is a second reading. Mr. Smith, our last meeting, on the first reading, there were a couple concerns on how to accomplish the liability and the pricing. How can we not discourage anyone for using the park? Can you expand on that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We did some additional research after that first meeting and reached out to the area cities and how they handled this sort of thing. And each one handled it slightly different, but the theme that I got is there's flexibility in this process. This is a process that we will be reviewing with you before we implement it. And individual uses, primarily what we're talking about are sales, rentals, concessions, those types of activities would be the types that would fall into this type of franchise agreement. Some examples: in Dunedin, they have their concession agreement for Honeymoon Island. It's quite a sizable agreement. In that case, they use a flat annual fee that increases each year. It's about $23,000 a year that they collect for that. Another example we saw in the city of Largo, they have a Central Park there, and they've got a vendor with a Ferris wheel, and they're going to have them come, and it's basically 30% of the revenues goes to the city. So they've used a percent match. So we have flexibility, and I'd recommend to you that we select individually these agreements on uses that we want in the parks, and we set up a fee structure that's fair to both parties and represents the impact to the facility and the potential for revenue.
Thank you. Commission comment? Commissioner Seaver?
Yeah, I think potential for revenue is important because we're not collecting any rent or anything for these uses. Howard Park comes to mind with their concession. I'm sure the county is getting revenue for that.
Yes.
So I think it's a good idea, and we still will be able to decide as a board or make these decisions as a
Right.
board. So thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to reiterate some of the things that we talked about last time. If we are approaching a business owner that has a class going on, that we are just respectful in that we don't embarrass them and stop them in the middle of the class and beginning of the class. And then also just coach them that this is an opportunity to grow their business by partnering with the city as well, because then we can advertise it within the city's recreation department and some other aspects too. But I'm in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? I hear none. I need a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. We are now going to the item number 21, which is the resolution 2019-05 Sidewalk Trust Fund Fee. City Attorney, please read the resolution.
Resolution number 2019-05, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, establishing a per linear foot fee for payment into the Sidewalk Trust Fund pursuant to Sections 132.01, 132.02, and 132.03 of the City of Tarpon Springs Comprehensive Zoning and Land Development Code when the construction of a sidewalk is determined to not be practical, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Staff report?
Pat McNeese again, Principal Planner. The Land Development Code allows an applicant to make a contribution to the city sidewalk trust fund in lieu of actually building a sidewalk if the applicant meets certain standards in the code. And that section of code also requires that the cost be calculated as 1.25 times the city's cost for building a sidewalk. And it also requires that the board establish that fee periodically. So the resolution before you establishes that fee at $31.25 per linear foot, and staff would recommend approval of Resolution 2019-05. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. How often do we update this list?
How
This
often?
information? Is
The
it-
code actually requires that the board establish the fee every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Mhm.
So we've done it 2 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Any commission comments, questions? Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none? I need a motion
Motion approved.
Second.
and roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna go back to the special consent agenda. Back to the item number 14. Select Adventist Roofing, Adventist Green Technologies for RFP 190041, design and construction of a photovoltaic power generation system. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Paul Smith, Public Services Director. With me again here is Hillary Weber. She's the Water Division Manager. She's also the project manager for this project. And I heard a comment earlier, this title might be a little bit overly complicated. It's solar panels is what it is. And it's solar panels at the RO facility. It's something that we've been working on for some time. This is something that came from our community, this level of interest, and it was a great idea. I can tell you, over these years that we've been working on this, the economic conditions for solar have greatly improved. Cost of panels have come down substantially, and we're seeing this in this proposal that we've received. We're very pleased with the pricing, and this is part of a phased plan. This is the first phase. We plan to continue to basically fill up as much of our usable area on site as a demonstration type project with solar power that we can offset our electrical costs. And I'm going to turn it over to Hillary to tell you a little more detail about the project, but I am excited about hopefully getting this going.
Good evening. Hillary Weber, Public Services Water Division Manager. Tonight, we are asking for approval of award of contract for the design and construction of Phase 1 of the solar energy production system at the RO Reverse Osmosis Water Facility. With this new solar panel system, the city will be able to offset some of the energy consumption at the Reverse Osmosis Water Facility and promote renewable energy. The system is capable of producing over 162 kilowatts per year, and the estimated energy cost saving for this phase alone is $53,000 per year. Not only is this environmentally responsible, but it makes sense financially too. The estimated payback for the system is 10 years, and the system is designed to last for 25 years. We've also partnered with some of our USF University of South Florida colleagues, specifically Dr. Chris Varakides. He's an electrical engineer in charge of the program over there, and he's been very helpful in our project. This concludes the presentation of this item.
Do you have something else to say?
No, I'm just happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for presenting this item. Actually, this project is not only good for the environment, but it makes sense economically. 9.5 to 10 years, we'll be able to recover the coast. I think it's great. I think it makes good sense to do that. One thing that I'd like to ask you is, I know it doesn't have too many moving parts, this system, but is the contractor or is the contractor will provide some kind of a training to our technicians, and what?
Yes, training is included in the contract. It includes 4 hours of training, hands-on, 2 hours in the classroom, and 2 hours field demonstration for unlimited city staff.
Okay. You said that was the phase 1. What do you have in mind for phase 2 and phase 3?
Well, with this phase, we're including an interconnect system, so connection to the power grid, and that will make it easier and less cost down the road for additional phases. Some of the phases include panels along the south corridor, canopies, covered parking.
So you're going to have coupling to have a system parallel to that?
I'm sorry?
You're going to have a coupling made to have another system parallel to it?
Yes, it would work with the existing phase. These panels will be located along the north corridor, facing the reverse osmosis administration building.
I'm very glad that my good friend Chris Fedekis is going to help us out with this project. He's a professor and in USF is an expert in this field.
Yes, Mayor, I have to say, when we met him, I'm a USF graduate, and when we talked to him, it was very interesting. We referred to this chart from this National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and he says, you know what, I'm on that chart. And he pointed, USF has done some really cutting-edge research on solar panels, and he's the guy that did it. So this was a great connection for us, very good resource.
Okay. Use them. Yeah. Thank you. Vice Mayor Panther? No comment?
Just in advance, excuse me, after number 15.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Now that we got the resolution.
Yes,
Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Sieber.
Yes, thank you both. It's forward thinking, and I appreciate you guys doing that. This direction we want to go in, obviously. And it is more cost effective now, so that helps us, and saving $53,000 annually is a good thing. What is the timeline? Did you answer that question for phase 2 and phase 3?
Future phases. Okay. Yeah, that's really going to depend on our next approach. We will be procuring the next thing separately. We'll be deciding the approach we're going to take, and based on that, we'll try to group some of these together. We've got some plans in our capital program to keep going, so we want to get as much as we can, as soon as we can, really. So our approach will.
We don't have to wait until this one is paid off, so good, thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you both for bringing this forward. I know it's something that we've all talked about for quite some time, so thanks for making the effort and this green technology. I want to ask a couple questions about the warranty of the solar panels. Can you just touch on that for a second?
So included in the contract, the solar module panels have a power production warranty for 25 years. In that also is included a 12-year standard warranty for the product itself and any defects.
Okay. Do we have like what we expected life of the product too that we're looking to install? Is it 20 years longer? I may have missed that.
Yeah, each of the components has a different life, but the important one is the solar panels, and they're warranted to keep producing power at up to like 85% of their power after 25 years. So it's a good long time. We expect some of the components, the electronics, may fail before then. In fact, there's a 10-year warranty on some of the electronic parts, and that's normal in the industry. But I think for the most part, our combined investment will outlive its payback period quite easily.
Great, thank you. Another quick question: when you said about a 10-year return of investment, did you calculate increases in electricity bills, or is just where we're at today?
That's a rather high estimate. The rate goes all over the place during the day, depending on the peak. It will increase over time. but we assumed a little bit on the high end. So it'll be several years before it'll get above that.
Have we looked into, I know we've talked about this in the past, have we looked into storage, or is this something further on down the road that we would look at?
Yes, at this point, this is going to be something that we use so much energy on site. This energy will be gobbled up before it ever needs to be stored. In other words, we're running pumps 24 hours a day to get out to the system and keep it pressurized. And just that power alone will be enough to use up what we have, particularly during the sunlight, daylight hours. So I don't really see a need for storage at this time. It's a big expense too. So I think it'd be better to spend that money on more power absorption capability than storage.
Okay, so it could be further on in one of the later phases. It would
Yes,
be
and I think
evaluated further at that point.
The technology will get better on that.
Okay, great. You talked about it earlier though, but this is a little bit of a unique situation where we only have one bidder. So I understand the circumstance that we had multiple people ready to do it, but they just didn't want to, or they couldn't qualify for some reason. So I do and want to encourage the team that it's important to go out and rebid for the next phases instead of piggybacking off this current agreement that we're talking about tonight. So thanks for bringing this forward. Looking forward to seeing more solar panels around Tarpon Springs and getting more awards for our water department. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you for all your hard work and always being so willing to talk about the different topics and making sure that Tarpon has some of the best drinking water in the state. So thank you.
Thank you. Any public comments on this item?
Pier Delacus 514 Ashland Avenue. As Paul will remember, when we were even talking about putting this together, I was telling you we need to put solar panels out there. Now, I do have a couple concerns or questions, and I'm not sure if they could be answered at this point, but according to the Public Service Department memorandum of March 19th, it says will provide solar panels, associated ground mounts, and equipment along the northern boundary of the facility. Now, my concern, one, is we're putting them on the ground, and they're on the northern side. And I know that building goes east and west, and the sun is on the south. So first off, why the northern side, and why not on the roofs or on the structure of the reverse osmosis plant itself versus being on the ground? Secondly, I do applaud that we are moving forward in this particular direction, but I would like to see the board look at cost efficiencies in purchasing more panels, because we know if you buy more, you usually get a little lower rate, but we have city buildings all over town that can have solar panels placed upon them. So I'm not sure how that could be worked with either this bid or some piggybacks or any future bids, but I think it's imperative that we look at paneling roofs and structures such that we can maximize our cost benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Hear none, I need a motion.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
I would actually like to understand that a little bit more about the placement, if we could share. Is that okay?
Of course, yeah.
Yes, as part of leading up to this project, some of the reason for the time that it took, we had a master plan performed with our consulting engineer, and part of that was a solar survey of the site where they actually go out and take readings of the solar energy coming down. And it's a great point, and it's something we did think about early on. Fortunately, we have enough room in that northern corridor. It's well past the longest shadow of the year. So that our panels, although it's ground mounted, they're actually slightly above the ground, and they're angled to the south. So that's why they're on the north side facing the south, so they get the full sun, and they even have a recommended angle of that mounting so that it gets the maximum sun. So yeah, all this was thought out. And also the comment about, well, why don't we put them on the roofs? Yes, that's a future phase. But this is the most power for the money, is this first phase. So we're going to go there first. Put them on the roof of the building is coming up in a future phase.
Great. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Motion, oh, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? Anybody has second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther? Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Next is item number 15 is the approval of Enos Point sidewalk magistrate recommendation. And I'd like to ask our city attorney to present this item.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have been given a quite lengthy memorandum from my colleague, Robert Eschenfelder. I would like to sum it up briefly, and then I can answer any questions that you might have. The property owners for the addresses of 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, and 83 Innis Drive made a state or statutory claim against the city related to the denial of a sidewalk waiver before the Board of Adjustment. Part of that process was to go before a special magistrate, which was mutually agreed upon between the two parties, and kind of hold a mini trial where evidence was presented, witnesses were questioned, and then at the end of that, to have the special magistrate go through a mediation process. So instead of coming to a conclusion and a judgment, he helped the parties mediate to come to an agreement. The agreement is set forth before you within the backup materials. In brief, the agreement was for a deposit of, or a payment to the city of $14,400 in exchange for a waiver of construction of sidewalks for these specific addresses. The reason it appears as some of the evidence that came out was that these sidewalks are part of private property, and where the sidewalks would be built and not city property, and there was some back and forth between the parties. In addition, once the parties pay the $14,400 to the city in exchange for their sidewalk waiver, within 5 days of that, there's a current code enforcement actions on some of the properties, and those code enforcement actions would be dismissed. So this is the recommendation that was set forth before to the commission from the special magistrate. And at this point, the commission can either choose to ratify that recommendation and ratify the settlement agreement between the parties, or you can choose to deny that and they would move forward from there. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Just an explanation. You say to ratify the recommendation of the magistrate?
Yes.
Or go forward?
Or you can deny the recommendation and then it would move forward, which likely would lead to litigation.
Litigation, okay, thank you. Any commission comments, questions?
I'm very grateful that all sides were able to come to mediation, come to a resolution, and I'm definitely, I'm in support of what we have in front of us.
Thank you. Commissioner Sieber?
Yes, I'm in support of this too, that just to clarify, 14,400 is per address for each of the addresses?
No, it's in total.
A total, okay. And that's going in the sidewalk fund?
The settlement agreement doesn't specify, but that's my understanding.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Carr? No comment? Okay. I also support that recommendation from the special magistrate. Any public comments on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Cindy Terrapini Planning Strategies. I represent the petitioners and I was at the mediation with them. One of my clients is here tonight. We're very appreciative of settling this matter and making a donation to the Sidewalk Trust Fund for the $14,400. This will resolve any future litigation on this matter. I think it's a win-win for both parties. Thank you very much. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Here none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Just before the motion, to clarify, to answer the question, there's a provision under number 3 that does specify that the City Sidewalk Trust Fund is where it would be deposited.
Okay, so we have an answer.
I thought I read that.
Yeah, I thought I did too, but then I...
Now the chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Banther?
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Mayor, can I add one addition to that? that all right?
Go ahead.
I talked to the city manager and I reiterated the need to see some sidewalks built around Sisler Field and also the Jasmine Sports Complex. And I think it would be good. I know he's going to be bringing at some point here the new sidewalk with Tom target of where they're going to go for. But obviously, safety of our children around our sports complexes, I think, should be a priority for us. I know, Mayor, you mentioned in past meetings that Jasmine should see a sidewalk along the area for the safety of the children. There's parts of Carolina that connect Whitcomb to Sisler Field at Mears that there's kids on the bicycles all the time. There's no sidewalks there. It's very intermittent. So I think this is an encouraging thing to see, and I would like to encourage the city manager and the staff to look at areas of safety first with some of these sidewalk funds. And now we've got some additional funds in here that we could use for this coming year. I would like to encourage that.
Okay.
Excuse?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Have a great time.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to item number 16, is to authorize execution of the First Amendment to electric vehicle site post agreement. And I need a staff report.
Good evening, Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. In October, the board approved moving forward with the installation of electric vehicle charging stations at 4 specific locations on city properties. As you recall, these units were being installed by Duke Energy through a grant program at no charge to the city. No pun intended. Sorry. Although your backup memo says that installation is in progress at those 3 locations, those actually are completed now. They are installed and operational. The 4th location was to be the community center at Walton Avenue, but that turned out to not be technically feasible for installation. So Duke offered us an alternative location as presented in your backup. This location is at the municipal parking lot on the corner of Safford Avenue and Orange Street. A conceptual rendering was provided in your backup to give you an idea what it would look like. A very similar installation, it's very similar to the installation that I'm sure you've seen here at City Hall, right here in the back parking lot. The mayor and I discussed this project last week, and he asked me to inquire about the possibility of having Duke install this 4th charger at the Mother Mears parking lot on the corner of Tarpon Avenue and Pinellas Avenue instead of Orange Street. And according to Duke, I did check in with them. Either of these locations are technically feasible, so either one's okay. So it really comes down to the preference of the board. I did ask Duke about the feasibility of installing chargers at both of those locations, so adding a 5th charging location. But as you might imagine, this program got popular real quick, and we'd have to go to the end of a long waiting list to add a 5th location. But changing the location of the 4th pre-approved charger is not a problem. So we got into the program early, and I'm glad we did. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this forward. As we discussed, I think we should install charging stations in locations that will be more useful, places that you have more customers to use it. And I believe the Mears parking lot, it has more businesses. You got Tarpon Avenue, east and west. You have north and south, Pinellas, the chamber there. So you have more users there. I think it'll be more, it makes more sense to me that they want to use it there. So. Commissioner Carr?
Thanks, Mayor. I've kind of got a different view on this, or I definitely have a different view on this. We have a very limited parking in downtown right now, and we have the electrical plugins already on Safford and in between Court Street and Lemon Street. So we have 2 chargers already in downtown Tarpon. If we have an opportunity to have the 4th location, I may recommend that we look at possibly Sunset Beach or Craig Park as an alternative in a different part of the city. And the reason I bring this up is that when you look at the parking spots, it only allows for the electric car parking to be in those parking spots. So me driving a truck that takes gasoline and there's parking taken everywhere and there's only 2 spots, technically I shouldn't be allowed to, or I'm not allowed to park in those parking spots. So with the lack of parking in downtown and already having 2 spots already in downtown, I would feel that it doesn't best serve our community by putting 2 more in the Mother Mears parking lot or the Orange Street parking lot. unless we see more of a demand, which I think we could measure that potentially on how much is actually output to put 2 more spaces in, which I would be completely happy to do as long as we see demand for it. The next question would be, I noticed that there's 2 at each one of the locations. Can we just put 1 in one location and 1 in at another location, or do they have to have 2 at each location? Bob?
Well, what it winds up being is a single pedestal.
Uh-huh.
And with a single pedestal, your bang for your buck is you get 2 plugs
Okay.
that will serve 2 parking spots.
Got it. So, or even the sponge docks, I guess would be the sponge docks, Craig Park, or Sunset Beach would be the 4th alternative, because those are areas that we don't have something already, and I think that would be an opportunity to leverage the best use of these electrical charging stations. No further comments.
Thank you. So again, what is your preference?
I think Sunset Beach, Craig Park, or the Sponge Docks would be a good spot. I know there's limited parking in the Sponge Dock from a city parking lot perspective. Craig Park, I think, would be good, or Sunset Beach would be a best alternative, I think. One of those 2.
Thank you, Commissioner Sibley.
Yes, I have to agree. Those lots downtown are very busy, and people are not finding room to park at either one of those lots, especially the Orange Street and Safford, with all the restaurants around. So I'd like to look at the possibility of possibly Sunset Beach, which is within the city and is owned by the city, but, you know, more convenient, I think, for our visitors and our business owners.
Okay. So I heard Craig Park, Sunset Beach, and the Sponge Docks.
Sponge Docks also has
As
limited parking.
alternatives. Okay. Well, I don't have any evaluation information for you on those spots, so I will have to go back to Duke and get more information for you on whether any of those are feasible. I would assume yes, but I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know. Those spots have not been evaluated yet.
Can we dedicate 1 parking spot instead of 2?
We can. It's possible.
Yeah, just to see how much demand that we have, because this is a new service. Most people don't know about it.
Yeah.
But again, I believe that if we're going to provide the service, it should be provided in a place where people can use it. If it's in a location that nobody goes there other than go swimming or picnic or something like that, what good is it to have? That's my.
So what would be the direction of the board? Would you like me to go back to Duke and evaluate alternative locations and bring them back to you
Commissioner
for
Sibley
that
has a
4th
question.
location?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Mayor. I was just thinking for those people who have the electric cars, they would go specifically to Sunset Beach rather than take up, 2 parking spaces or even 1 at these busy lots. So I still would be more comfortable looking at that possibility.
Mhm.
It's up to you guys.
May I ask a question? Bob, people use these at night?
Yes.
Sunset Beach closes at night?
Okay.
So, I mean, that might be a consideration, but how long does it take on average to charge a car?
Well, these are level 1 chargers, so they're pretty slow.
Pretty slow?
Yeah. I don't have a long-term average for you, but.
Okay.
Can I speak? Yeah, these aren't intended, though, to have someone come charge their car every night as a recharge. It's more of to serve as a availability to just get a recharge while you're visiting a business or this would be at the splash park or dog park or city hall. So I think it would be a good idea to it'd be prudent from the city to look at these alternative locations, and then we can make a final decision once we find out.
I'll bring it back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
Are there any public comments on this item? Here now, thank you, Bob. We are now going to item number 17, is to authorize execution of a Premier Power Service agreement with Duke Energy for City Hall Complex generator. City staff?
Back again. Bob Robertson, Project Administration Department Director. You're tired of hearing that, don't you? Back in December, the board approved an agreement with Duke Energy to conduct an electrical system evaluation and a design for installation of a new backup power generator for the City Hall complex. When I say City Hall complex, I'm referring to all the buildings here on the City Hall property. The generator would be procured through a lease program offered by Duke Energy, through which no upfront capital costs would be required, and all operation and maintenance costs would be covered by Duke. At that time, I told the board that I would come back for approval of something called a Premier Power Service Agreement, which establishes the terms of the lease program, and indeed, that's what I'm here for this agenda to discuss with you. So in brief, a monthly lease of just over $7,000, Duke will overhaul the existing external electrical systems here at City Hall. They'll add and upgrade components to meet current code. They'll consolidate the 5 power meters currently serving this complex into 1 meter and install a new diesel-fueled generator capable of powering the entire complex to replace the existing aging, undersized diesel generator. The monthly lease is to be paid as part of the monthly power bill. The power bill at City Hall is currently allocated 88% to the general fund and 12% to water and sewer. The finance department did an evaluation of staffing at City Hall, and as a result, we're recommending adjusting that allocation a bit to 70% to the general fund, 25% for water and sewer, and 5% for sanitation. This was outlined in the additional backup memo that I provided to you this morning via email, and you got a hard copy, I believe, waiting for you here before tonight's meeting. And one final note regarding the cost. Obviously, with a new generator installed, ongoing maintenance costs for the existing old generator would be eliminated. Also eliminated would be costs of maintaining the portable generator dedicated to the IT department that you see outside this door when you come in for these meetings. On average, these maintenance costs are about $1,300 a month. So the $7,000 lease works out to more like $5,700 a month when you account for the avoided costs of maintenance of the existing equipment we have. Not to mention that we'll be getting a portable generator back into our fleet of emergency generators for standby deployment. So that's the summary of this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Carr?
Thanks, Mayor. Bob, I know we've touched on this a little bit too in the past. How come we haven't looked at battery storage and solar for this as an alternative? And then I would like to encourage that later on when we come up with the 10 years as well.
Okay. I'm not sure how you're talking about battery storage of power.
Yeah, so there's the option of installing a solar panel, right? And then you, instead of actually using the power for what we're doing at the water plant or RO plant, you're actually just putting it in a storage unit. And it's like a battery pack,
Sure.
like it'd be a closet or a room that you have a bunch of batteries in. And then at that point, it has enough power to run the building for X amount of time based on the recharge from the solar panels. Has that been evaluated in this?
Well, we're talking about a 250 kilowatt generator to power this whole complex. That's not even what they're putting out at an RO doesn't even get to that point. I think they're putting 162 kilowatts out at RO without storage. So obviously we don't have a big field to put solar powers even on the building. I don't think we get the footprint that we could. But hey, that's worth looking into for the future.
Yeah, I would like to encourage it in the future because it's one of those aspects that I think it makes more sense because when we could utilize the solar panels as well when the battery packs are full, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it's newer technology and technology is going to continue to refine and get cheaper and get better as years go by. So I'm excited to see what progress we have with that. Obviously, this is an important aspect to keep the functions of the city running, and I'm happy to support the generator. It does. There's a cost to it for sure. That's not small, but at the same time, it's imperative to have power and electricity here. Can you touch a little bit too on the size of the diesel tank and how long we could run off the diesel fuel? And then do we have anything set up as a backup if we do have a storm of some sort, and how we would get fuel at that point?
So the tank is designed to hold about 48 hours of storage for us at full load. Obviously, we're not going to be running at full load all the time, so you would be able to stretch that out. But our backup is our diesel tank, which is right across the street. And they usually will top that off when storms are coming.
Okay.
So that I think we're okay there.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, thank you. We learned from the Hurricane Irma.
Yes, we did.
City Hall was without a power for many hours. We know that. And now that we plan to be paperless, we must have a generator that's dependable and also big enough to carry the load. I have a couple questions that actually I got from the residents that I'd
Okay.
like you to address, please. One is, why is necessary to have emergency power for the small buildings, the city clerk's office, the old police department, and the customer building? And the other one is, which I already know the answer, but just for people to hear that, is the Duke Energy will be responsible to perform monthly maintenance routines.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
And
And
then
they'll
to
be
your-
responsible to do that.
Yes, they're responsible for all that, and they're responsible for running the generator and testing it, and they even cover the fuel when they test it. So the only time we ever have any cost is when we use fuel for our own purposes, for backup or for emergency power. Excuse me, emergency power. And then to your first question, the question is, why are we backing up the other facilities? Well,
Yeah.
first of all, the city clerk's office will provide utility billing and billing services. We need to be able to get that back online as soon as we can after a storm. So they provide an essential function. And then we have record storage, storage of records, keeping them dehydrated and air conditioned and climate controlled, keeps those records safe. That's an important function, and it's really, it's not a huge adder to include that building. So it made sense to make sure we were comprehensive in covering every need that we could possibly have at City Hall.
Thank you. And also, we're going to be paperless, so we must have
I sure hope
backup
so.
electricity to do that.
I'm trying.
Actually, you're doing a class on that, right?
Yeah, I do, yes.
Thanks. Just to insert a little bit of information what Commissioner Carr said about having solar energy panels. That's my goal too, that we see every building that it has that. But we also must understand that along with the batteries, you have to have a converter to convert it back to AC. So that's another cost that we have to realize, calculate it into the cost. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any public comments on this item? Here none. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes, thank you. Number 18 is to authorize the settlement of code enforcement liens. Case number 17-8, 639 and 641, Belair Reserve Holdings, at the 204 Lakeview Drive. City Attorney, can you present this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is to obtain your authorization to accept a $38,000 settlement on behalf of the current owner, Bel Air Reserve Holdings LLC, in exchange of a release for the above Code Enforcement Board liens. In November 2017, these properties were cited, or this property was cited for for accumulation of debris. There were two liens that were totaling $73,198.84. The property did come into compliance in November 2018, and at that time, Mr. Trask started negotiations with the property owner's representative to come to some sort of a settlement agreement. The settlement agreement that has been reached is for payment of $38,000, but there are some conditions. This is structured a little bit differently than most of the code enforcement settlements that we present to you. So there would be, both liens would be settled for $38,000. However, payment must be made to the city within 150 days of the commission's approval, should you choose to do so. If payment is not made within 150 days, the fines are going to revert to the original lien amounts, which is the $73,198.84. There are additional terms with this that govern the partial releases. Anytime a property is sold, the city will take 75% of the net sale, or excuse me, the net proceeds from the sale of the property and apply it towards the liens. This can only be done it cannot be done if there are only 2 remaining properties left. However, that way it's structured so the city gets paid every time a property is sold. And I can answer any questions if you have them.
I have no question. Commissioner Carr?
Can you clarify number 5 for me a little bit more so I understand this a little bit better? I mean, I get what you said, but I still want to make sure I am clear. So when they sell the properties, the city is recouping the additional lien that's outstanding, or were we closing it out at the 38,000?
We're closing it out at the 38,000, but an incremental payments to the city based on the sale, the net proceeds in the sale of the properties. So if one property sells for X amount of dollars, 75% of those net proceeds would come to the city to pay down the $38,000.
Okay. Is that if they're not paid within 150 days? Am I right? in saying
That would all have to be done within 150 days.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none. Chair will entertain the motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And roll call.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber,
Yes.
Mayor LaHousas?
Yes. Well, that concludes the agenda tonight. And according to the agenda, we're going to the staff comments. Major? Nothing. No. City Attorney,
Always a pleasure to be here.
thank you for being here. Chief Cochin, I want to thank you for substituting the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any comment?
I'll defer my time real quick to Major Young. Why don't you talk about our K-9 graduation tonight? I think that's really a great event for the PD.
Officer Wynn is in the process of graduating with our newest K-9, and named after fallen officer and brother and hero Charlie Kondak. And our thoughts are with Kondak family always, and but also a little proud with Tommy tonight and what he's accomplished with the K-9 unit. And it's going to be a big asset to the city of Tarpon Springs and the residents, and having another great dog that's already accomplishing things greatly and on his way to a national championship before he even graduates the school. So well done on Officer Wynn's part and PK's.
I will ask if it's possible after the graduation, if they could bring you here during the one of the commission meetings,
sure.
so everybody will see
Yep,
it.
we can
As
arrange
we did
that.
in the past.
Yep. I'll work that out with Mark.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
City clerk,
I have no comment.
no comment. Thank you. Vice Mayor is gone, so Commissioner Sieber.
Yes, I wanted to be at that tonight.
Me both.
I know. Tommy has done some amazing things with both our K-9. And so, yeah, I wish him well. And my only other comment is that I'm curious about how your trip went. And congratulations again for your election. And let us know how what happened.
Yeah, thanks. Commissioner Carr?
Yeah, also want to say congratulations on being reelected as mayor for another 3 years. Also, congratulations to Connor Donovan for being elected, I believe, youngest elected commissioner in Pinellas County ever, or close to.
I don't know Pinellas County, but for sure the city
For
attorney.
Tarpon Springs. And then also for Townsend Terrapini, that was run unopposed. And it's going to be, I don't remember what meeting it is in April, but April 9th. So I know it's going to be a couple new faces, so looking forward to serving with you, Mayor, another term. Obviously, I'm here at least for another year and hopefully more. So congratulations, and looking forward to serving with you more.
Thank you, thank you. I have some comments that I'd like to make. That Saturday, March 23rd, on Tarpon Avenue, we have the Fest Music Bash from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the East Court Street. I also like to welcome the new business in town, Looking Glass House. And as you know, I just returned from Washington, D.C., and I was invited to White House by President and Mrs. Trump to attend the reception in honor of the Greek Independence Day. It was a great honor to attend this celebration, and it was nice to see that Tarpon Springs, it was actually represented in Washington. It's amazing to see how many people actually know about Tarpon Springs. But I'm very thankful for that. I also like to thank the voters for exercising the privilege to vote Tuesday, March 12th. And it's an honor for me to be reelected to serve another 3 years as the mayor of this beautiful city of Tarpon Springs. And I'd like to congratulate Council Terrapini, the commission-elect, for getting elected, come back into the commission and bring in all the experience that he has. And also like to congratulate the commission-elect Connor Donovan being elected and bringing a lot of youth here on the commission in different aspects. I think it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to serve with all of us. Thank you. Well, that concludes the regular session meeting. Well, we'll go to the CRA meeting. I now call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, March 19, 2019 at 8:05 p.m. And roll call, please.
Chair LaHousas?
Here.
Vice Chair is absent and excused. Commissioner Sieber?
Here.
Commissioner Kikta is absent and excused. And Commissioner Carr?
Here.
Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is the minutes, A, February 6, 2018. B is March 20th, 2018. April 24, 2018. May 9, 2018. June 26, 2018. September 5th, 2018. September 18th, 2018. And February 12th, 2019. Any of those items that you'd like to pull? No. Are there any commission comments? Any public comments on this item? Nothing? The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
And roll call.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sieber?
Yes.
Chair LaHousas?
Yes. Item number 2 is the CRA annual update. Karen Lemons is ready. Been waiting all night for that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm Karen Lemons, Economic Development Manager. I'm happy to be here to present the annual report for our CRA. State statutes require that CRAs each year by March 31st report on their activities within their CRA. So we've put together a written report that you all have. We have that on file with the city clerk's office. And then tonight's a good opportunity to give an update on the activities that we've had. So this covers fiscal year 18, which is October 2017 to September of 2018. Just for some background, our CRA was created in 2001. They have a 30-year longevity, so it would sunset in 2031 unless extended. The goals are to stimulate redevelopment, revitalization, and to attract private investment and encourage economic growth. We looked at the taxable values of the CRA each year, and in this past year, fiscal year 18, it actually went up 10% from the previous fiscal year. That compares to the city overall values going up 7%. So we had a pretty good year within the CRA. General business activity, we had 21 business openings during the year. We had 9 closings and 7 expansions and relocations. Of those 9 closings, all of them have been refilled with new stores except for 3 of the restaurants. And I think that points out to a healthy business climate. When businesses close for several different reasons, they're quickly filled with new businesses. And the relocations we're especially happy with. That also shows a healthy business climate. Whenever an existing business is expanding, it shows it's doing well, and they're choosing to expand here and relocate here and remain in Tarpon Springs. Some new businesses that are coming this year, some have opened already, others will be opening at some point this year. I just wanted to point out a couple of those. Papoose Craft Distillery, we're happy about this one for a couple reasons. Number one, it'll be the city's first craft distillery. That's become what the craft brew industry was several years ago. And secondly, it's going to be the first renovation and repurposing of one of our sponge warehouses, and that's been one of our goals. It's under construction right now. It's on Alt 19, right across from where Yard of Ale used to be. And then the Thai Guys, 338 East Lemon Street. This is an old warehouse building that's been vacant for as long as I've been here. It's across the street from Silver King and right next door to Christopher Still's art studio. The Thai Guys, they purchased the building, so we have an on-site local owner of the building now. They're going to be renovating it. They manufacture and distribute ties, all kinds of crazy designer ties with everything you can imagine they make. So we're happy to bring them into the city and seeing that building get put back onto the industry. And our incentive grants are continuing to do really well for us. The facade grants in the past, since 2011, the past 8 years, we've approved 69 grants. For our restaurant grant that started in 2015, so in the past 3 years, we have approved 14 of those grants. Here's an example of one of the facade grants this past year. And this is the list of the restaurant grants that we have approved. If you look at a couple of them, KCQ Barbecue, as you know, is out of business, and a new Cajun Creole restaurant is going in there. And then Sweet L's Bakery is now Cafe Poli. But the strength of these grants is that when you award these grants, it makes the building turnkey and ready. So when the bakery left, a new cafe and bakery could go right in. The same with KCQ Barbecue. The grant enables the businesses to renovate, and if they do leave for whatever reason, the building is turnkey and ready to go for somebody new. And this is an example of one of our restaurant grants, Tuscan Sun, before and after. And then the overall economic impact of these grants over the past 7 years, we've had 74 total projects. We have reimbursed from the CRA $410,000 in funding, and that has resulted in almost $3.5 million in private investment that's been made into our city. And that's about a 700% return on investment, so that's pretty phenomenal. These are some public infrastructure projects. This is the North Safford corridor. This was completed in late 2017, the pavilion that was put in. This is the Ring Avenue reconstruction in the municipal parking lot. This was completed and just this past year adds about 25 new parking spaces. The alternate 19, we had some landscaping improvements that were done on the south portion of Pinellas Avenue that was completed in late 2017. And then new signage. We're currently installing new historic district signs at 35 intersections that are within the CRA and within the historic district. Those signs are two purposes, really. One, beautification, and number two, to show that this is a historic district and to let people know that they own property within that district, that they have certain responsibilities when it comes to upkeep of their property. And then the wayfinding signs, we're currently starting a bid process on that. We'll be installing 11 of those new Trailblazer signs. These are the larger ones. There are 4 of them that will be in the CRA, and they'll be going throughout the city this year. And then some of the residential projects, you probably recall the Villages of Tarpon. This is the Tarpon Springs Housing Authority, received a big grant to renovate 4 housing complexes. 2 of those are located in the CRA, and those were completed late 2017. Anclote River Crossings, these were 10 condo units that completed this project along the Pinellas Trail, along the Anclote River. This is one of the reasons for the increase in the taxable values throughout the district. And then 2 new single-family homes are going up on Orange Street with detached garages. The construction is ongoing right now. This is fulfilling one of our goals of increasing housing in our downtown. And then just down the street here on Pine and Safford, we've got 2 apartment buildings that are going up with 6 units in those 2 buildings. And again, helping us bring people living downtown and helping to bridge that gap between the sponge docks and downtown and making Safford Avenue a nice walkable area. The Blue Bayou Inn, this was a project that was renovating. It used to be the Bavarian Inn. It's been undergoing now for about 2 years. It is now complete. It is gorgeous. I would encourage you to stop by and look at it. If you have anybody that's coming into town, this is a beautiful place to stay. They have 10 rooms, and it just opened this past month. The Lemon Street Trade Center is under construction. This is one of our first new construction projects in the CRA. It's 8,000 square foot multi-tenant light industrial building. It's going to be bringing new jobs to the city, and again, within walking distance of our downtown and on the Lemon Street corridor that we've been working real hard with. They do have one tenant signed up there. These are well-known St. Petersburg artists who actually have moved to Tarpon Springs as well and will be setting up their studio there. This is Safford Avenue and Center Street. We've been talking about this project for some time. They do have their building permit. I saw some big units out there, so they're going to be starting their renovation of the exterior. It'll be a multi-tenant building with office, retail, and opportunity for restaurant. Jesse's Garden, our first community garden, opened this past year. We're real excited about that. And then our festivals and events continue to bring people downtown. First Friday has been phenomenal. We look forward to that every year, as well as Snow Place and the other festivals. I know you mentioned the Tarpon Fest that'll be held this weekend. Then some future and ongoing projects that we're working on. Obviously, West Tarpon Avenue, the CRA now owns a parcel down there. We're continuing to promote development opportunities. We did receive a grant from Forward Pinellas for $25,000 that is going to give us a best and highest use analysis scenario for that entire parcel, not only the parcel that the CRA owns, but the adjacent parcel that's owned by somebody else. So that will give us a nice roadmap and a vision and a feasibility for what can go there, something that we can use to promote the area and work with developers on what we want to see there. The picture there is from the current owner of the larger parcel of what could potentially go there. That's a mix of residential with office and a cafe. And then the Manatee Plaza, this is where the old Winn-Dixie was, and you're all familiar with that. We've been working with Forward Pinellas and Pinellas County on increasing the density there. The owner of the plaza, in fact, is here this week, and I met with him today. We share a same vision for that, which is complete redevelopment of the whole plaza. It's outdated from when it was built, no longer really serves a use to be able to fill it up for the retail that's required there. So we are working through the process of increasing the density so that it could be a mixed use of residential and commercial within that 10 acres. And then the alternate 19 quarter in general, we've been targeting underutilized properties and some of the older plazas and looking at development potential for those. And then two more things that are administrative and procedure, but these are two very important projects for us. First is our CRA plan update. That's going to be a big project for us moving forward. Our plan was adopted in 2000, so that's almost 20 years ago. The plan tells you the activities within it. It tells you the current economic environment, why the CRA was formed, and ideas of what you could do to promote redevelopment. Well, 20 years ago, our city has changed tremendously. Our economic climate has changed. We've put in a special area plan. We have a smart code, zoning code. There's been a lot of changes. So if we are going to take our CRA and our activities to the next level, which is what we're trying to do now, we need to have that plan updated. So that's going to be put within our budget this year to do, so that will give us a roadmap moving forward. So know where we are now and the vision that we want to move to in the future. And then secondly is that federal opportunity zone. I think many of you are aware of that. Tarpon Springs is one census tract. There are 16 within Pinellas County. The opportunity zones were created by the Federal Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Congress passed in December of 2017. And what they are is our census tracts that are deemed to be underutilized and neglected, if you will, economically unstable. It provides tax benefits to people who invest in those zones. So what it does is it's attract investors to put money into projects that are funded through those zones and that provides capital then for people to undergo projects, whether it's Manatee Plaza. We have lots of underutilized parcels. We have a lot of empty parcels on Safford Avenue. So this will help property owners attract investors who are looking to invest their money because they can either defer or eliminate capital gains taxes if they invest in projects in these areas. So Pinellas County just put together a phenomenal website. We have a page on that that's on our economic development webpage, and it's on the county's page that's promoting all the opportunities that we have within those opportunity zones. So we have been working as we meet with developers and realtors and others to let them know that we have this federal designation in that area and the incentives that it can do to help them redevelop their properties. And with that, that's the report. We have a lot of challenges ahead. We've come a long way in the last several years, and we are looking forward to a lot of activity and a lot of forward momentum going into the new year.
Karen, thank you for the update. It has been proven that the 2 CRA grants that we have, the facade improvement grant and the restaurant improvement grant, they are very successful. We were able to beautify the downtown and also to attract businesses to downtown as well. So I think both grants are excellent, and we'll keep supporting them. I think it's good for the city. But we need to concentrate more to beautify Pinellas Avenue. We have some buildings that we need to work with the owners, property owners, and for them to fix up and offer one of the grants for them to beautify those areas. Also to be able to install the landscaping that Commissioner Carr has been talking about it for quite a while now. We need to concentrate more, bringing more development opportunities to West Tarpon Avenue and to Manatee Plaza, the old Winn-Dixie, as you stated, and the old Pappas Restaurant. All these three places, it can be landmarks for the city of Tarpon. I think it's going to be good if we spend more effort on those three places. I would appreciate it. And again, thank you for your work. Commissioner Sieber.
Yes, thank you, Karen. We've come a long way since you've come on board, so I appreciate all that you do and your hard work. On the Manatee Plaza, you said you met with the owner. Is there any type of time frame for when something might start there?
Well, as soon as we get clarification from the county on what we need to do to increase that density or what they need to do to get the density, or if they aren't able to do it, but either way, they're ready to move forward. They've got, they own the plaza outright. They've had some interest in purchasing it, but what they want to do is get all the entitlements in place. So nobody's going to buy it unless they know exactly what can they build, how many units can they do. So all of those things we're working through now. So hopefully in the next couple of months we should have that finalized, and then we'll be working with them. But it was nice that they shared the same vision that we have of a total redevelopment of that plaza, essentially starting over. So that's the way that they're going to be approaching it when they are working with developers who want to purchase it.
Have they met with developers or you know, do you know of any developers that might be interested? I agree that that's what we want there. That place needs to come down, but
yeah, I've met with several, and then I refer them to the owners, and then we're in that position then. But they have several people who are interested. So as soon as we can get all of the technical specifications in place, I think we'll see some movement there. Because, you know, as I mentioned to them today, we've got the Mears Town Center that's being built. We'll have the Mears roadway going through. We've had other inquiries on that in that same area. The hospital is undergoing the renovation. So those are all positive pieces of information that bodes well for that piece.
right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential there, so I hope that that can move forward quickly, as quickly as possible. Also, the plan update, obviously necessary since it's been almost 20 years, so I'm looking forward to that being done. And you talked about the Federal Opportunity Zone website. Do you know, what is that website?
Well, if you go to the city's webpage and you go to economic development,
Okay, all right,
it's on there, and then you click on that, it'll take you to it.
thank you.
Commissioner Carr?
Thanks. Karen, thank you for the update and all the work that you do for our community. It's great to see a thriving area within the CRA district. That's obviously the board at the time had a dream, and I think it's coming forward year after year, just bits and pieces, which is great to see this past year, all the different pieces that we're able to add to and within the CRA. What's the current balance of the CRA today, do you know?
That's available. I think it's around 150,000.
Okay. Something that I think to talk about. I know we're heading towards budget season. We could look at additional CRA funds and looking at general funds or other aspects as well. But I think it would probably be good, and I've talked about this in other meetings, to look at parking garage somewhere within the downtown district. I'm not sure exactly where that could be pinpointed, but I know we've talked to staff multiple times. I haven't gotten an update at all about it. I don't know why we haven't gotten updates about it, but it would be good to have an update, I think, from staff about the areas where we could put a parking garage as a city. Again, continuing beautification efforts, something that the mayor mentioned along Pinellas Avenue from Orange Street to Live Oak or Dodecanese is needed severely. Just the road looks rough. You can't walk down it very easily. So it would be nice, since this falls within the CRA, to use CRA funds, or at least partially CRA funds. Again, additional grants that can encourage development on the west end of Tarpon Avenue, or if it could be just redevelopment that could tag along with the opportunity area that you mentioned. Thank you for spearheading that and making sure that we get that here in the city of Tarpon Springs. I think that's a great asset to have. Again, you also brought up the historic signs that we have at the four-way stops or stop signs. I think we also need to look at the secondary signs, the no parking this side of the street, yield signs, if it's children playing signs, speed limit signs. When I look at that, I could kind of equate it to like getting a haircut as a man. You have, most of the time, you have the side of your head shaved, and then the barber or the salon person will clean up around your ears and around your neck. But I feel like we've shaved the side of our head, but we haven't cleaned up around our ears and around our neck. So we've got these beautiful assets that we've added to our city, but we still need to come back behind and clean up the secondary side of it. So I think there's an opportunity to do that as well over 2019. And then to finish off, just some discussions for continuing growth and encouragement of other businesses is looking at some type of sign that could go over the bike trail that can mimic a railroad crossing of some sort. I know before I was elected, the police department presented it's not the best idea to put something over Tarpon Avenue by the train station due to distracted driving with and then the bump up in the road and the amount of pedestrians. But maybe we look at doing something across Safford and where the bike trail is today. And I don't want to necessarily say let's do what Dunedin does, but they've got something similar. I think it's about some type of freedom that honors veterans, right, across areas. And I'm not really sure what it could say, but it brings character, and it brings, I think it will encourage some growth also into our downtown area. So those are just some of the ideas that I'm thinking about for 2019, although this is a 2018 to 2018 report to 2019 March. So just thinking forward and how we can move forward into 2019. Would also like the opportunity to meet with you and Mark and to discuss a little bit further as well. So Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on this item? Hear none, Karen, thank you. Well, that concludes the CRA meeting, and it's adjourned at 8:28 p.m.
Right.
Make sure you.
We didn't realize that we're actually initiating the contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's usually